Welcome to the Big Success Show. Today, finding startup money.
You're overwhelmed, so much to do, it seems like such a mess. If only you had coaches who could bring you big success. Bring you big success. So lean right in, learn how to win. Entrepreneur nurturing, tips to be your best. With a professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
Are you thinking about starting a business? If so, it's crucial that you understand how to start, fund, run, and grow that business.
In the new book, Startup Money Made Easy by the editor-at-large of Inc. magazine, Maria Aspan gets candid with leading entrepreneurs like Mark Cuban, Bobby Brown, Jack Ma, and Damon John, among other celebrity entrepreneurs.
Maria combines her expertise at Inc. with stories from these successful business owners to answer all of your biggest money questions when you are starting a business. And we're happy to say she's joining us today.
Welcome to the Big Success Show, Maria.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be with you guys.
Well, the book is fascinating. It's wonderful. What made you decide to dive in and write this as your first book?
So this was really a compilation of what I've been doing at Inc. for the past 5 years. I've been overseeing the money coverage, which really comes down to every single financial question that you might have while starting a business. And, you know, it's become obvious to me and to us at Inc. over the past several years that really money is at the root of every question you might face when you're running a business and starting a startup.
Well, actually, you refer to finance and the money side of the business as kind of like broccoli. Eating your broccoli?
I'll have cheese with mine.
Exactly. It's like this leafy green vegetable that's really good for you, that's full, you know, that's kind of full of the necessities of life, but it's often boring or unappealing, or it tastes bad, or it's just like, I don't want the broccoli. I don't want to deal with the money of my business. I just want to think about being an entrepreneur and not not wrestle with the stinky, smelly, awful part of it. And as I say in the book, you can make it fun. You can. I personally love broccoli rabe with garlic and red pepper flakes. Or
There
you
you
can
go.
be showered in cheese. But you can find ways to appreciate, the very necessary questions of finance, whether it's just how much money do you need to start your business, to, how should you go about asking friends and family if you want to ask them to help you get off the ground, to some of maybe the more fun questions or the bigger questions that come as your business grows, everything from hiring employees and paying them and dealing with things like health insurance and retirement planning, to, if you're lucky enough to be able to sell your business and retire off that payday, what should you do with the money, and how should you make sure you're making smart decisions that can also help you enjoy your life.
And you take us through all of those in your book, Maria. You do a fantastic job. And I have to say, in my time, I teach entrepreneurial finance at the University of Illinois. And just as we looked at your book, just looking at the table of contents, I felt this refreshing feeling coming over me, because it wasn't just about venture capital. So let's talk about what are some of the practical ways that somebody, if they're thinking of starting a business, what are some practical ways for them to go about financing that thing?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because, as we were saying before this interview, like VC and venture capital, it gets the bulk of the headlines, but we at Inc. we poll our Inc. 5000 CEOs, that is the heads of the fastest growing private companies in America. We poll them every year, and a very small percentage of them actually started their business using VC. It's 3%. It's much more likely that these CEOs will be starting their business using savings or credit cards or loans from friends and family.
Credit cards?
Credit cards.
I have a friend who's a billionaire who started with 10 credit cards, believe it or not.
Oh, God. that gives me a little bit of anxiety. Well, and I do feel like credit cards, I don't want to say they get a bad rap, because they can absolutely wreck your finances and if you don't know what you're doing. And there are some entrepreneurs and some very famous entrepreneurs quoted in the book. Mark Cuban consistently says, "Don't use credit cards." Max Levchin, who started PayPal and the online lending startup Affirm, has a horror story in the book about you applying for a credit card when he was a student and not understanding the terms. That said, credit cards, pretty much everyone has a credit card. They are, as long as you pay it off at the end of every month, it's an interest-free 30-day loan. It's a lot less paperwork than getting a bank loan or certainly an SBA loan. So we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who have at least started their business and often help finance their business on an ongoing basis using credit cards. It's just, as with pretty much any other financial decision, it's just important to read the fine print, pay attention, make sure that you're paying off your credit cards at the end of every month, and if you're starting off, you might also want to look for a credit card that gives you a 0% introductory offer for like a year. So that way you would be able to, as long as that introductory offer is valid, you'd be able to carry over a balance without paying interest, just as long as you, again, pay attention to when that offer expires and you're going to start racking up interest.
And obviously, credit cards definitely come with their cost. I mean, they're not the cheapest form of financing you can get. If you do end up paying interest, and as you said, they are full of pitfalls. But there are definitely other ways of financing. What would be kind of one of the most common ones?
I would say that bank loans are certainly one of where we usually recommend that once that people start looking. Now, bank loans are paperwork intensive, and you're not likely to get all of the credit that you apply for. It's time consuming, but if you can get one, or at least if you can get at least some money from a bank, it's usually some of the cheapest money you can get to start your business. There's also this increasing availability of online loans from a variety of online lenders, that some of whom specialize in small businesses. Now, those two can get very expensive very quickly. The interest rates can be really high, but we do talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who use them because you can get them extremely quickly, and sometimes if you're in a cash crunch, they can come to the rescue.
So here's a question for you in terms of startup. How has technology helped entrepreneurs get started? And also, I guess maybe just how's the cost of startup changed with new technology?
Oh, it's lowered tremendously, and I'm so glad you asked.
Well, and it's so funny you say that, Maria, because I always tell my students, I teach a class about money for your business, and money for your business is less important than it ever has been in my lifetime. So you're right there.
Yes, I mean there's one study that was done in 2008 that found that at that time the average business took an average of about $31,000 to start a business. Today, in our 2018 Inc. 5000 CEO survey, 42% of the CEOs told us they used less than $5,000 to start their business.
Isn't that amazing? Yes, and
it's tremendous.
Yeah, I just think people don't understand that we don't hear about this enough. That actually the cost of starting, and in a way the cost of testing an idea, has gone down.
Yes, and I think an important side note is that technology has made it easier to do these things, to test a business or start a business part-time or before you leave a full-time job, to sort of, test out the concept by setting up a website and setting up a Twitter feed or an Instagram feed, to launch a podcast, to set up PayPal or Stripe so that you can start accepting online payments. You can do all of these things after hours, on the weekends, and you can really, depending on what your business is, of course, you can set something up in your spare time and test it out and see if you've got enough there to sort of take the leap into full-time entrepreneurship if that's what you want to do.
That's awesome. Actually, you answered another one of our questions, which was, do you recommend a person start a business part-time? And because of technology, you really can.
You really can, and I personally, yes, I absolutely recommend that you test out the concept before you go full-time, in part because it's likely that you're not going to be able to take a salary from your business, at least at first. Our Inc. 5000 CEOs told us that only 28% of them took a salary immediately upon starting their business. And even once they did take a salary, most of them took less than $50,000 per year. So if you're starting a business, you've got to expect that it's going to be a couple of years likely before it can start sustaining you. So starting it part-time is, I think, an excellent idea.
And how do you know that, hey, now's the time to leave my steady corporate job and paycheck to launch that business of my own?
Jumping off the cliff.
I feel like that's the $50 million question, or the $64 million question.
Well, we'll see how you do then, Maria. There's a prize for the winner.
I mean, I think it depends, of course, on the type of business and your results. But I will say the one thing that I come out very strongly in favor of, or one of the things I come out very strongly in favor of in the book, is writing a business plan and checking it repeatedly, so that you have a good grasp of your numbers, so that have projections for when you're going to turn a profit from your business. And even though the business plan that you end up with, or the business that you end up with, is probably not going to look like the plan itself, it's a great idea to spend some time getting familiar with your numbers and then check in with it as you get off the ground to see, okay, when am I going to be making a profit, and when is it a good time to make this leap?
And you talk to a lot of big names in doing research for this book. Did anybody surprise you with some advice for startups, for owning a business?
I will say that this came out of, as I mentioned, about 5 years of interviews, of editing articles. It came out of a big package that we did for Inc. in 2017 called The Smartest Money Advice I Ever Got, where we asked a lot of successful entrepreneurs just what one mistake did you have to recover from, or what one piece of financial advice would you give other entrepreneurs. And I would say my takeaway was that there's no one right way to start a business. We had, for instance, the founder of financial startup Plaid in there. His father told him, make sure that you live below your means. Or Damon John, giving the advice of, if you want to start a business, just save everything. Don't spend any more than you have to. On the other hand, you have Bobby Brown, who, when she moved to New York, her dad said, make sure you spend money on good restaurants because you're moving to New York. Make sure you enjoy yourself.
That's funny.
So, I think my takeaway was that there's no one right way to be a founder. You just have to figure out the financial discipline that works for you.
Awesome. I'll tell you a quick story. I have a former student who is a huge Mark Cuban fan, and he paid something like $5,000 at a charity auction to have lunch with Mark Cuban. And he said the first thing Mark Cuban said to him when he got to the dinner table was, "I wouldn't pay $5,000 to have that lunch with me."
That sounds like Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
Well, you can find the link to Maria Aspan's book, Startup Money Made Easy, with the link on our website with the show notes for today. Or you can look for it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, all the places good books are sold. Right, Maria?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the plug, Mary-Lynn.
Well, thank you for being with us on our show.
We appreciate it.
Anytime.
And we thank you for listening.
Until next time,
here's to your big success.
Tips to be your best with a professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
Find big success at biggsuccess.com.